We would like to call the special meeting of April 15th together. The first item and only item on the agenda is a resolution 2026-08, which is requesting that the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority impose an immediate moratorium on the delivery, commitment, reservation, extension, or approval of water and sewer services for hyperscale data centers, mid-size data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers, pending completion of comprehensive due diligence investigation. Clerk Swanson.
Sorry, I apologize. Sorry. Resolution 2026-08, a resolution of the Ypsilanti Township Board of Trustees requesting that the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority impose an immediate moratorium on the delivery, commitment, reservation, extension, or approval of water and sewer services for hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence, computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers, pending completion of comprehensive due diligence investigations consistent with industry best practices, including but not limited to the American Water Works Association's recommendations, as well as the Water Environment Federation in response to the state of Michigan's data center tax incentives. Whereas the Charter Township of Ypsilanti is charged under its authority as a charter township with protecting the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents, and whereas the township, along with the city of Ypsilanti, are constituent members of the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority, YCUA, and rely upon YCUA to provide essential water supply and wastewater treatment services critical to public health, environmental integrity, economic stability, and fire protection. And whereas YCUA is entrusted with safeguarding the capacity, reliability, and long-term sustainability of the regional water supply and the wastewater treatment systems, and whereas the American Water Works Association, AWWA, has issued its authoritative white paper, Cooling the Cloud, Water Utilities and a Data-Driven World, concluding that the hyperscale data centers, as well as other mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers are high-impact customers for water and sewer utilities, and that these centers increase water demands, infrastructure strain, and operational costs, and as such, public utilities such as YCUA must undertake proactive planning and coordination before service commitments are made to the aforementioned centers. And whereas the hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers require extraordinary volumes of water for cooling and industrial processes and may consume up to 5 million gallons of water per day, which will require wastewater treatment per each gallon of water, thereby generating significant wastewater discharges associated with cooling systems, chemical treatment, and thermal discharge, requiring advanced treatment capacity and regulatory compliance with unique thermal and chemical characteristics. Whereas the state of Michigan has enacted legislation including but not limited to the amendments to the General Property Tax Act and related statutes to provide substantial tax incentives for the development of hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers, including 6% sales and use tax exemptions on data center equipment, including servers and related hardware, incentives tied to large-scale capital investments, often exceeding hundreds of millions of dollars. And whereas the enactment and expansion of the tax incentive programs were designed to attract large-scale, high-density computational developments to Michigan, including hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers, thereby creating a foreseeable and substantial increase and applications for such facilities across Michigan and throughout Washtenaw County, including the communities which receive water and sewer services provided by YCUA. And whereas these tax incentives, approved by the Michigan legislature and signed into law by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, have created an artificially induced marked demand, which has also resulted in the potential clustering of all of these facilities referenced above in areas of available land, infrastructure, power, and water, including Washtenaw County. And whereas the township finds that the state of Michigan's tax incentives have an irreparable and harmful impact upon tax revenues that benefit local governments and schools and do not adequately account for the consumptive use of water resources, along with the required sewer capacity by the hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers, which encourages the development of these centers, which could be incompatible with YCUA's long-term water and sewer capacity sustainability. And whereas the township finds that these tax incentives approved by the Michigan legislature and Governor Whitmer have the effect of pressuring public utilities such as YCUA to commit to water and sewer capacity without sufficient time to conduct thorough engineering, environmental, financial, and capacity reviews. And whereas the director of YCUA has confirmed that YCUA continues to receive inquiries from representatives of hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers regarding YCUA's water and sewer capacity to serve said centers. And whereas the best practices required to be followed by YCUA, including those promulgated by the AWWA and the WEF, emphasize the necessity of rigorous, science-based due diligence analyses, which are to be completed prior to the approval of high-demand hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers. And whereas the township has not been provided with sufficient evidence demonstrating that YCUA's current infrastructure can sustainably meet the high-volume, continuous water and sewer demands of hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers, which operate 24 hours a day, 365 days per year, nor evidence demonstrating that YCUA can safely treat and discharge the wastewater associated with these facilities without experiencing capacity degradation affecting residential, commercial, and light industrial properties located in the township and other communities serviced by YCUA. And whereas the failure to fully evaluate these impacts presents a material risk of the availability of water and sewer capacity to the township and the city of Ypsilanti, and may alter wastewater composition through chemical treatment processes, which will increase the thermal discharge loads and will require additional treatment beyond YCUA's current design capacity, thereby resulting in potential regulatory violations and capacity degradation affecting residential, commercial, and light industrial properties. And whereas the township finds that proceeding without comprehensive due diligence studies conducted by YCUA, consistent with the standards and recommendations of the AWWA and the WEF, would be premature, imprudent, and in conflict with the public interest. Now therefore be it resolved that the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Board of Trustees hereby formally requests and urges YCUA to immediately impose a moratorium of not less than 12 months on the delivery, commitment, reservation, extension, or approval of water and sewer services to hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, high-performance computational centers, pending completion of comprehensive due diligence investigations consistent with industry best practices, including but not limited to the American Water Works Association's recommendations, as well as the Water Environment Federation. Be it further resolved that the moratorium imposed by YCUA as it pertains to the aforementioned centers shall include, but not be limited to, new service connections, capacity reservations, infrastructure expansion commitments, and preliminary or conditional approvals. Be it further resolved that the moratorium shall remain in effect until the completion of the following analyses as recommended by the AWWA and WEF, which shall include but not limited to the following. 1. Long-term water supply and comprehensive capacity analysis, which shall include peak demand modeling, drought, and emergency resilience. 2. Long-term wastewater treatment and sewer capacity analysis, which shall include wastewater treatment compatibility studies, effluent composition, temperature analysis, and YCUA's thermal, discharge, and water quality impact assessments. 3, financial and ratepayer impact analysis, which shall also include prevention of cross-subsidization of required capital improvements to serve the aforementioned centers so as to ensure that no costs are shifted to YCUA's existing customers and ratepayers. 4, infrastructure and capital planning analysis, which shall include all required upgrades and expansion costs that would be attributed to providing water and sewer capacity to the centers referenced in this resolution, including infrastructure stress and redundancy analysis, the cost of which shall be borne by any center referenced in this resolution seeking water and sewer services from YCUA. 5, environmental and sustainability review. 6, emergency response and system resiliency assessment. Be it further resolved that the Township requests YCUA to conduct all of the aforementioned studies in a transparent and public process, to engage independent qualified third-party experts where appropriate, which studies shall be subject to peer review and comment, and to provide regular updates to the Township Board and the public on a quarterly basis. Be it further resolved that during the 12-month moratorium period, YCUA shall refrain from executing any capacity reservation agreements, issuing will-serve letters or conditional approvals, and making infrastructure commitments that could prejudice the outcome of all of the required due diligence investigations and studies. Be it further resolved that Resolution 2026-08 is supported by authoritative AWWA and WEF guidance and recommendations requiring proactive planning and due diligence by public utilities such as YCUA, as well as documented evidence of extreme water and sewer demand and infrastructure strain by hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers. Be it further resolved that Resolution 2026-08 is also supported by the State of Michigan's tax benefits incentives to all the aforementioned centers, which has resulted in the acceleration of these planned hyperscale data centers, mid-sized data centers, artificial intelligence computing facilities, and high-performance computational centers without the appropriate safeguards to the water supply and sewer capacity of YCUA. Be it further resolved that Resolution 2026-08 is supported by the Township's authority as a charter township, which includes the prevention of irreversible harm to the public infrastructure of YCUA, including but not limited to the water and sewer transmission pipes, collection sewers, interceptor sewers, sanitary force mains, and pump stations. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of Resolution 2026-08 be forwarded by the Township Clerk's Office to the Mayor of the City of Ypsilanti and all City Council members, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, U.S. Senators Gary Peters and Alyssa Slotkin, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, State Senator Jeff Irwin, State Representative Jimmy Wilson Jr., and the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners. Now therefore be it resolved that Resolution 2026-08 is hereby adopted. So moved.
Support.
Motion Swanson, support Peterson. Mr. Winters?
Madam Chair, good evening, and good evening to everyone here. Can you hear me okay in the back? Okay, head nod, okay. As time goes by, you sometimes look back over over your personal and professional life, and you are reminded by what I am anyways, by what my mother used to say, is that anything you do in haste, with this personal or professional, are decisions that you sometimes are going to regret. And as I go through the presentation tonight, I'm also reminded by one of her verses that she would always point out, and that is that it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And so as we sit here tonight, this board is actually going to consider to do what the state of Michigan should have done from the very beginning. But in their haste to accommodate their friends, their donors, and influence peddlers, they passed a 6% sales tax, basically opening the door and inviting, by invitation, every data center, high-performance computational facility, every hyperscale data center in this country to come to Michigan, come over here, locate here. We'll give you billions of dollars in tax credits if you locate here. You're not going to create any jobs, but you're going to be able to get all these tax-free windfall profits. And so what we've seen now is an historic number of applications, countywide, statewide, of these data centers who just absolutely guzzle water by the millions of gallons per day. And at the same time, what safeguards do we have in place to ensure that when they tell us they're not going to put contamination or contaminants into the wastewater supply, what assurances do we have that's true? We don't have any. And I sit back here and you sometimes ask yourself, does anybody remember things that happened really not that long ago? It wasn't that long ago we were talking about the Flint water crisis, where you poison a whole city by putting water through these pipes that were corroded, and you end up poisoning a city with lead that children today will still be living with for the next maybe 60, 70 years. I'm sure many of you also remember when we were told it was safe for you to use asbestos. That was safe until they discovered asbestosis, mesothelioma, and other cancers that have destroyed millions of lives in this country because asbestos was supposed to be safe. We were told at one time, how about the PCBs? Detroit Edison, are you listening? That was what you used in your electrical works, and now they too have been known to cause cancer, and they have been banned. Can't leave out other ones such as DDT. Everybody remembers DDT when it was being used as a fertilizer to kill everything. So when people tell you that, trust me, this is going to be okay, why should we? Common sense tells you you can't just heat up water, send it through these pipes, and expect it to come out on the other side without having any kind of studies to determine, is it going to destroy the pipes, the transmissions system underneath the ground? Is it going to come out at such a rate that it's going to affect the ecosystems downriver? No studies have been done to really verify any of this. But yet, the governor, in her role as the Pied Piper of Michigan, has taken the Michigan legislature over the cliff on her way out, and they have approved all of these tax benefits because Michigan has two things that many other states do not have. They have power and they have water. That's why they're coming here. All those three together, tax incentives, power, and water. So right now, this board is asking of Yucca, do your due diligence studies. If what people are saying is accurate, let's do studies. Let's hit the pause button. There's no need to rush in and do things that later on might not be revealed into 20 or 30 years. You're borrowing this land and these resources from future generations, from your children, from your grandchildren. You have an absolute responsibility to ensure that what you return to the waters is going to be safe. We don't have that assurance. We listed all those studies that should be performed by these experts. And there's experts all over the country right now that are warning other states that have already seen the effects of what happens when you have hyperscale data centers come to your community. States that rushed into basically this AI gold rush, that couldn't wait to approve these data centers, are now all of a sudden saying, maybe we should call a timeout. Maybe we should pause. Maybe we should have a moratorium. And that includes Virginia, Ohio, Missouri, Maine. There's 12 states right now that are trying to enact different types of moratoriums, including Michigan. Although I don't know exactly where it stands today because the governor has doubled down on her commitment to have these data centers in place. That's her legacy. That's what she's chosen to be her legacy as she ends her term in office. This board's legacy, I believe, is not so fast, not here, not right now. What you've seen happen already in real time in Saline Township, a community of maybe 3,000 people, if that is not almost criminal, I don't know what else is. They've absolutely overran that township with Oracle, with over billions of dollars in investment, again, because you get the tax incentives to do so. Then you keep on looking at these commitments that they supposedly are going to keep, but yet even today, you'll have, today there was even an article right now that was published by The Guardian where down in Tennessee, in Memphis, once again, the NAACP has filed a lawsuit against Elon Musk's AI because of the data centers basically are using, they're in place, are actually having a negative impact upon the communities, primarily black neighborhoods on the border of Tennessee and Mississippi, that's spewing toxic pollutants into the air. Again, as stated by the president of the NAACP in Memphis, all too often, big corporations like XAI treat our communities and families like obstacles to be pushed aside. Again, it goes back to the love of money. The township also, in doing our own research, we've also come to the conclusion that not because it's don't take my word for it, it's these scientists that are much smarter than we are, than I am anyways, that they have already discovered that these data centers are having an alarming impact upon creating what they say are heat islands. The heat is warming the land by up to 16 degrees. They are actually making life hotter for more than 340 million people. Again, there's effects here that we have no idea where it's going to take us. That's why it's only wise for this township to hit the pause button, and Yucca hit the pause button, and do your due diligence, do your studies. Let us know exactly what we're getting into before there's any kind of rush to open up the water and sewer capacity and serve any of these centers. There's still tremendous gaps in our understanding of the impacts that these data centers are going to have upon the water and sewer systems. Now, it's true, and you'll probably read this, where Yucca buys its water from Detroit. That's true. Yucca does buy its water from Detroit, and they distribute it to the city of Ypsi, the township, and to a number of contract communities. But what nobody has talked about up until tonight in this resolution, while there is maybe the ability to purchase additional water from Detroit, the Yucca has a wastewater treatment plant that has a limited amount of capacity. In other words, the wastewater treatment facilities are sized to treat a certain finite amount of sewer. And so when you purchase 5 million gallons of water per day, that water is going to come back in the form of wastewater. Some may argue, well, it won't come back in the same amount. It may come back less because of evaporation or heat. Maybe. But we don't know exactly how much will come back. And if it takes our capacity from the township to serve these data centers, there won't be enough capacity for other businesses, residential neighborhoods, and light industries to locate here because, again, we have a finite capacity of sewer. So don't ever be misled into thinking that because Yucca buys its water from Detroit, that somehow that means you can have an unlimited amount of sewer capacity. They're totally two separate issues. And our plant right now in the township, we have approximately what we refer to as 5 MGD or 5 million gallons a day of sewer capacity that remains under the control of the Yucca Board and for the benefit of the township. 2 of these data centers, hyperscale data centers, alone could take that capacity away from the township, and thereby leaving this township in a position where, as other development continues, how can we serve those other communities? How can we serve people that want to open a business, build a residential neighborhood, have light industry? And keep in mind, again, the jobs that are associated with these, back in the 1990s, General Motors, when they were in business, a Hydromatic, they too were purchasing anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million gallons per day. They also employed 14,000 people, okay? These data centers are going to employ very, very few people, and they're going to be working remotely from all parts of the world, not just the United States. They can log in from Australia, United Kingdom. They don't have to be in the township to log in. So right now, the Township Board is faced with a situation where, because the state of Michigan did not do its due diligence, this Township Board is having to spend its time, its resources to make sure they are held accountable. And so how could any of us have imagined that we would be having to have this kind of a fight against our own state representatives, our federal representatives, our governor? How could you possibly imagine that? I mentioned at our last board meeting, we continue to receive more support from people outside the state of Michigan than we do from those in Lansing. We have received support from people in New Mexico. There have been other people outside of New Mexico that have also contacted us in regards to the dangers of these data centers and not having scientifically proven studies that are going to confirm that these heated effluent is safe. We don't know that. There's a lot that we don't know. And so at this point in time, the Township Board, at least from the standpoint of where I'm sitting, did request that this resolution be prepared. And because we're not going to gamble with the future, we're not going to be sitting here in 20 years saying, well, why did that board not learn from the history lessons that were taught to us by the Flint water crisis? Why did they not learn that maybe this chemical involved in this wastewater treatment is now going to be banned like PFAS? Why do they call PFAS a forever chemical? Because you can't get rid of it. And right now you can't get rid of it in the water system, in the sewer system. You can't get rid of it in the human body. So these are some chemicals that are not going to go away. And we're not, right now, it would be irresponsible not only for this board, but it would be irresponsible for Yucca, in my opinion, not to hit the pause button and not to take the time, the effort to slow down and see exactly what it is that these data centers are all about in terms of their environmental impacts, the water and sewer impacts, and whether we even have enough capacity in our sewer treatment plant to even treat these hyperscale data centers. And keep in mind, when something is too good to be true, it's probably too good to be legal. And we've all seen how these gold rush opportunities sometimes become fool's gold, because what looks like a real good thing today, in 5 years, in 10 years, are they still going to be there? Are they going to be saying now the data centers should really be located in outer space? We don't know that. And so there's no need for us to jeopardize our capacity as a municipal wastewater treatment plant, to give away our capacity, to sell our capacity. We made it quite clear that we're not for sale, that we're not going to be intimidated. And we've been telling people that we are going to use every tool that we have at our disposal to make sure right now that this township does not suffer the same kind of impacts that you see occurring throughout this country. And so I think this is probably the biggest issue since I've been on the township board. At the same time, as the attorney, but at the same time, keep in mind that you also have a toxic landfill located right down 994 over here. So when you start you start drawing a line in regards to hyperscale data centers, this being proposed, toxic landfills, nuclear waste, any number of things that could come our way, it's not a good look. And when you continue to have the pressures being focalized upon this part of the township that is still, unfortunately, is in the lowest opportunity index. That means that from a standpoint of education, from health disparities, from economic disparities, this part of the township, probably like Memphis, Tennessee, continues to be the place where let's all go over here. They can't do anything about it. They did the same thing to Sling Township, a community of 3,000 people. They just rushed in there and said, what are you going to do about it? You can't fight us, we're too big. Well, it's not so much that, it's like going back, I guess, to David and Goliath, when they said that Goliath was too big to fight. It's our position, sometimes Goliath is too big to miss. And so right now, we would prefer to continue to do what's right by this township, even the city of Ypsilanti, even though they may not have the same amount of property that could be developed. They are a constituent member. They face the same effects that we would face. And not only that, but all the contract communities that YCU has contracts with, they would be impacted by this moratorium if it's approved by the board and also approved by YCUA. So at this point in time, it's a crossroads moment. It's not focalized on any one particular proposed data center. We continue to receive phone calls from other data centers wanting to locate in different parts of the township. But right now, the main question is, can YCUA provide the water and sewer services needed? We don't believe that they've shown us right now that they can, without doing these independent, verifiable studies that will measure the impacts from an environmental standpoint. And again, I think the lessons of history come back to us every time we think about this. And just remember right now, the decisions that you make in haste are the ones you always wish you could somehow claw back and take back. But we don't have the benefit of hindsight when someone says that chemical that you put in the water is now having a bad effect upon the ecosystem, upon your children, and upon the drinking water. You can't take it back. And so right now, I really encourage the board to do exactly what you request to be done, have your resolution requesting a moratorium, and that it be done with all due speed, because I do think time is of the essence, because like everything else, there's another election coming up in November this year, so people are going to change positions at the state government. And right now, the pressure is on, especially by the governor, to push these data centers through at all costs, with all deliberate speed. And I think the Township Board is saying, not so fast, slow it down, make sure we know what we're talking about here, because right now, there's none of us up here, I believe, that could come close to being an expert to tell anyone that this would be a safe thing for this township to have in our community. So, Madam Chair, I hope the resolution suits the purpose of the Township Board as requested. And if there's any questions of the board that I can answer, I'll be more than glad to.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. At this time, we will have community comments. It's 3 minutes. If you'd go to the microphone and give your name and if you're a township resident or not, it would be greatly appreciated.
My name is Joanne, and I am a township resident. And what I want to know is, what do you guys need from us? Tell us what you need. We don't want this. We would do anything. I'm like 2 miles away from it. Okay? And the truth is, I'm moving. So it doesn't really matter. It shouldn't matter as much to me, but my God, I've lived here for 24 years. What do you need from us? Do you need us to rally? Do you need us to protest? Whatever you need from us, you know what I mean? Tell us what you need. We do have to stop this. This cannot happen. Thank you.
There's 2 microphones on the back as well. Just turn on the green glasses.
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm a resident here in Ypsi. I've got a couple questions. So, let's see how to word this. One of the things I've been involved with some other people, other groups that are also they're on the same page basically, and it'd be nice if all the groups were working together, because I feel like that's not happening. But one of the major things that comes up a lot, sorry, I'm out of breath, is I'm getting, like, there's a debate, which turns out to be more argument than debate, but a lot of people are saying it's scare tactics, saying it's a tier 1 high-value risk target kind of thing, and just some other things. And so, along with other comments like that, that's kind of sometimes hard to come back with a good argument or repetitiveness. What kind of things can you recommend for us to help us word this better, perhaps even with more facts? Like, for instance, that guy that you had mentioned last time, Paul Corliss from UFM, seems to claim that some of this stuff is not based on facts, despite it seems like it is from our perspective anyway, that it is facts. So that's something that I'm trying to combat myself when communicating with people, right? So I think a lot of other people might have that same issue. Because on top of, so for instance, I don't know if you saw, but there is now a petition out there, but it seems to be more focused on Los Alamos and being this nuclear weapons center than it is the whole picture. So it'd be nice if it was more than that, but it's because, encompassing all the huge environmental impacts from, environmental racism to the actual air, water quality, et cetera, which then so it'd be helpful if from you guys maybe, or anybody really, because people like me don't know how to communicate this stuff maybe better than we're trying, and I would like, so that'd be nice to help with this fight, for instance. And the second one, I'll try to be real quick. Going back to the water issue, waste management and all that. So there's also some verbiage, both from Los Alamos, from Tom Mason, for instance, that basically says that they are doing research and development, which will include manufacturing of advanced materials. It says it right there on Gretchen Whitmer's page, right? So that's one of my arguments too. It's like, no, it says right there, it's possible. So with that in mind, with the water. Is that included with the moratorium on, sorry, I'm shaky because I'm nervous. But is that included with the wording? Because I'm not good at the bureaucratic speech, by the way, sorry. So is that included in there, like what kind of these materials might be that would be included in what we're asking for from the water, the YCUA, whatever, water waste management and all that? And any other possible things, like for instance, I hear that copper and helium is always being mined that's going to be used for the data center, things like that. So these kind of facts, like it'd be nice to know a little bit more of, and especially people like us that don't know how to speak the bureaucratic thing.
John, you asked some great questions. We're listening to comments. And
Yeah.
we'll be happy to talk to you afterwards.
Okay, great.
And ask some great questions. Next.
Hello, my name is Tom Komet. I've been a resident of Ypsilanti Township since the 70s. And ironically, I used to work for the Ann Arbor wastewater treatment plant. And I came to this township before YCUA was formed. And at that point, I used to work at the Ford Lake plant. And there was a number of industries that were all over the United States, and we had our industries. And they would dump toxic chemicals on a daily basis. Peninsula paper wasn't necessarily toxic, but it used to change the color, of the water. And but some of the other companies used to dump some products that were indoor chemicals that were extremely dangerous, and some of them are probably in the sludge still on the bottom of Fort Lake. And of course, since I used to work for the township, I heard something when we had World War II. They used to use a substance called cosmoline. Now, in that case, we were in a world war, but they dumped it into some of the streams around the Willow Run Airport. And at that point in time, one of the individuals from the EPA, he told me that there was 13 feet of cosmoline in the Willow Run waterway that used to dump into Belleville. Needless to say, because of all these issues, over time, the people that were in power, they came up with the Clean Water Act, and a number of different. I was actually ended up getting a job in industrial surveillance, where we were mandated to go to these industries and check them out, because they're, for whatever reason, whether it's an employee that had a mistake, they were actually forced to put in their own treatment plants to take care of these issues that they were routinely just dumping into our waterways. And, it's a cause and effect situation. And so, unfortunately, what can happen and what has happened is there's great damage that is done. And then we say, well, wait a minute, back up and say, look at all that damage that is done. Now let's clean it up. And I'm just here to tell the board that your thought process is, to me, based on years and who knows, century of history, that suggests that money does create and has created great problems for us, including sickness of our children, and of course our waterways and our fish. The water, the dissolved oxygen content in Fort Lake was so low that it really couldn't afford. A lot of carp would grow there, but certain types of fish, they need specific dissolved oxygen so that they can survive, and hence there was so much phosphorus going into Fort Lake that's something called eutrophication. And what happens is that the plants in the lake grow at such a rate that they block the sun from coming into the waterway. And then what happens is that the lake became, or was going on its way to just being destroyed, well, these rules and regulations that were put into place begin to correct that. And I'm just here to let you know that what you're doing, I believe, is an excellent idea to get things done properly. And we don't need to do anything today in relationship to this, and
Thank
I'm
you.
100% behind it.
Thank you for your comments. Next, yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Christopher Mitchell. I have a relationship with Ypsilanti, which is old enough to vote. I first want to put out the fact that the cooling systems which require this wastewater and pollution are a matter of choice. That is a matter of design, and it is a matter of intent and cost. And the fact that the issue of acceptable pollutants is a matter of how much are you going to take for the benefit of this. These places do not provide high-skilled labor forces. They are barren, they are labor deserts. And I come from a background in IT, so I know very well that someone like me could be managed in India to manage this place. And then you have, a couple security guards. But the fact is that they can be made to not pollute. It's just expensive. It's a new concept. Mm-hmm. It's the new thing. And it's, front edge. But we all know what, front edge technology looks like. Look at, our Model T versus our, Hellcat. We don't have to dive headlong and potentially sacrifice so much of ourselves for this. And the amount of issues which are here are uncountable, and I really feel very, marginalized by the fact that it's, an upriver interest. The people which would be building this, the pollution will not matter to them because they will not be affected by it. Their children will not be affected. Their investments will not be affected by it. We are the stop. We are the point of where, waste makes want. I don't know. It's, I'm not a political person. I like to stay at home, and I'm very sad that I have to be up here today.
We thank you for coming.
I really appreciate everyone here who's out here today. And again, closed loop cooling exists. We all have closed loop cooling in our homes. When I, as a professional, was looking at this, I was like, oh, and when I went to college, all these things were modeled on these closed loop ideas because there were, structures which did not have, they were imaginary.
Right.
But when the brass tacks came to it, came the sacrifice of anything for any harm to human life or condition.
Thank you.
We have plenty of space. Thank you
very so much. Next.
Hi, sorry if I'm running a little late for the meeting today. I literally had something to do right before this. Basically, I wanted 2150 Chevrolet, Monica Ross Williams. I want to make it clear that I am support of the board in this particular decision. Hopefully the board will unanimously vote on the issue. Here's why. Because our water system is unique in Ypsilanti Township and in Yucca. As we have learned over the years, other communities, including Ann Arbor, because of the fact that they did not properly take care of their water system because they let different industries come into play, have a plume. Right, and that plume is toxic for the water situation. Yucca has been very, in my opinion, studious in regards to making sure that our water and waste treatment system has been safe for the residents of Ypsilanti Township and surrounding communities that use the Yucca system. We have to be very protective of that, especially right now in the environment where we have threats continuing to coalesce around not only wastewater treatment system and water for the community, but just simply water resources like the Huron River that could be in a threat. That is also equally a part of our community. It goes back many, many years. It has historical content, and then in the same aspect, it equally is a place where people fish and enjoy time with their family and go on the water and, you know, and canoe, which is even nice. Not all communities across Michigan have these unique features of Ypsilanti Township, and sometimes people are jealous as a result of that, right? Other communities can be jealous because of our unique features. We have to be very, very protective. With that being said, I hope, again, the board will vote unanimously for this resolution tonight and continue to keep fighting to protect all the residents, all 65,000 of them, of Ypsilanti Township. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Hi. I want to talk in part about...
Your name, please?
Jessica Kruger, 1610 South Terrace Road. I want to talk in part about a word that the gentleman before me mentioned, which was closed-looped systems, cooling systems. And that's something that a lot of these AI data center, computational centers will throw around a lot, like it's a cure-all sort of problem to the cure-all solution to the water problem. But approximately 80% of the water drawn by data centers evaporates. And the water that remains, that 20% that remains, is full of all these chemicals, anti-corrosion things, and has to go under intense treatment just to be even dumped or turned into something useful, and it can contaminate the ground. And this is even with closed-looped systems. It is not the cure-all they want you to believe it is. It is just the best they can do using water, and the choice to use water for their cooling is, as he said, a matter of money. There are other solutions out there, but they're more expensive, and so they don't want to look into it. But that closed-looped system is not a solution. It creates what's called blowdown, which is full of contaminants that are extremely hard to get out and may require more treatment or specialized treatment that Yucca may not be ready for or may need specialized equipment for. And I also want to tie this to the larger picture of what our future looks like. Because if you listen to any environmentalist, one of the biggest problems that we are going to be facing as a global community in the next 5, 10, 20 years is water shortages. So this is a moment where we need to think about ourselves in our community 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Will we have enough water? Will we have enough clean water? Just because, and if we could do it in this moment, is that the best thing that we can do for our future? We really need to think about how we want to use our resources today so that we can still have them for tomorrow, and who we want to be in control of making those decisions. So I support this resolution, and I hope that Yucca will support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next.
My name is Terry, and I live in the township for 27 years. And my questions are simple. It's like, so next steps, how do we know what Yucca's going to do, given this resolution? And also, DTE being huge in their impact and their influence. How are we going to approach that?
Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name's Scott Robinson, retired YCUA safety officer, or health and safety officer. Mr. Commit was my predecessor. I didn't plan to come and say anything. I came to listen and hear what the resolution was about and to hear what the board was going to do. I'm standing here now because my wife channeled my mom and leaned over and said, get up there and say something. So I'm going to say to the board, you all know YCUA's history. You know your involvement, and you know the involvement of the board, as well as the city members, correct? I've been a member of this community 65 years, proudly. And I was an employee at YCUA for 33 years, proudly. And I will say to you that as an award-winning organization there, I will say to you that, and I'm going to ask you and maybe charge you with continuing to be the watchdogs for this subject matter. I'm not as well versed as some of these folks are in data centers. I've been watching and listening. But I want you to be the watchdogs and those that follow you to be the watchdogs for not only for YCUA, but to continue to be the watchdogs for this community and the impact that these data centers, because this is not going to be the only thing. It's going to be other things that will come along, right? Be the watchdogs for this community and for us and our children and grandchildren that are here, because this is a proud community. I said YCUA was an award-winning facility and organization. That's because of this community. So be the watchdogs not only with this resolution, and realize that this is only the first step. Be prepared to take more. Be prepared to take more, because it's going to take more. Because we all know more money is going to be coming. Money is the root of all evil. And can be the root of all goodness if it's managed and coordinated appropriately. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you're sitting in those meetings, as you're talking to the people from YCUA. I'm a little disappointed that some of that leadership's not here this evening. I was looking forward to hearing what they might have to say, because I worked with them when they were new. I've been gone a few years, right? But what I'm saying is it's going to take more than just this resolution. It's going to take more than what I'm saying or what these folks here are saying. The lady said, what do you need us to do? Protest? Write our congressmen, congresswomen? What? So I'm asking you to do your part and to continue. This is the first step. Don't let it be the last.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. All right. Next. Yes.
Hi, Lauren Smith. I'm at 2330 Town Court in Ypsilanti. I've been here for 13 years now, I think. This is my first time attending a meeting. I'm super excited to be here. I'm in full support of this resolution. I hope it passes unanimously for what it's worth. I'm going to echo what the last man said, that this is the first step, and I mean that in that I'm a noise researcher. That's what I do by day, and data centers are noisy. So, and not like they shut off. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That sound is never going to go away. And currently, we don't have good regulations in the United States for noise, really. And so I'd urge maybe a next step down the road for this board to maybe think about a new ordinance that would address the low frequency type of noise that comes from these data centers that is going to annoy and make mad the neighbors next to them if this ends up coming to fruition, which I hope it doesn't. But nevertheless, I think if you start and you make a resolution in that light or a new noise ordinance for that, you could be a model for a lot of communities around the country who need someone to take the first step. So I really urge you to do that as additional work beyond the work related to YCUA. So thank you very much for the work and support you're doing.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm an Ypsi Township resident with my husband. We live right down the street and essentially right around the corner from where this is potentially being built. I'm really glad she just went before me because that was something I wanted to reiterate as well, is the noise. I think everything in this is really great around the environmental aspect of things, but the noise is also a huge concern I have. We love entertaining, having bonfires in our backyard, and we're not going to be able to do that anymore. We're also millennials who proudly bought a home, and it's not that easy to just get up and move, and I don't want to have to do that. So I'm very grateful that I do feel like I'm here preaching to the choir today, and all of you. I'm really grateful that you are in support of opposing this, and I just reiterate everything that everyone said here today as well. And what do you need from us? I've emailed the U of M Board of Regents. I'm raising awareness on social media. This is my first meeting I'm attending here. I'm a little late to this, I know, but I'm here now and I'm ready to fight with all of you. And I think just some guidance on how we can really unite in this, because I know there are groups who have been doing the work, but how, like another gentleman said, how can we unite all of that? What are some of the best next steps we can take as residents? So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Wait, let's have other people go before the same speaker, yeah.
My name is Rebecca. I am not a township resident. However, I was born and raised and currently live within the Huron River watershed, so I think this definitely affects me. I guess my concern, I think this is a very good step for the record. I think getting this moratorium is really great. My only concern, I guess, is is 12 months long enough for this type of studies to be done? A lot of times, science obviously takes time, and I guess my concern is would we be able to extend this if we needed, if they found, negative effects related to this? And I think I just also wanted to echo, in the coming years with the climate crisis, I think it is increasingly important, especially within the Great Lakes region, to protect our water and to protect it from being polluted because, of course, we are currently running into water shortages, and this region is, going to be known as a haven, and I think we're going to probably have increasing people here. So I think overall, taking this moratorium is a very good first step. But yeah, looking into this would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jamie. I live a mile and a half from the proposed center. I've lived in Ypsi Township maybe for the last 7 years, but lived in Depot Town previously. And the biggest things I've noticed since living in the township is that it smells like trash very often near my home because of the dump. The Ford Lake is often full of algae, so bad you can't even have your windows open. And now a nuclear anything near my home behind an elementary school also makes me very uncomfortable. Not to mention raising the temperature. Is that going to affect the algae blooms in the lake that's already polluted, that already stinks? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Do we want to be targets? Just the whole thing is just a nightmare scenario. So I appreciate the board trying to safeguard us and all of our families and investments. The economy's not great. Not many of us can just pick up and leave. And noise pollution, that would, I'd have to leave. I'd have to go live in a box somewhere because I don't think I could handle that. That'd be too much, in addition to the smells and the algae blooms, And there's also light pollution to consider. That's also a big thing. So, thank you for trying your best. I appreciate it. And encourage you to do whatever more that you can to keep us all safe because that's what it's really about,
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Courtney. I am a township resident of about 5 years now and a fourth generation Ypsi Township resident. My family has been in this area since the beginning, and I really appreciate all my friends here coming. I'm sure some of you have heard me. I've been the loudest mouth online, but I'm pretty quiet. This is my second meeting. I went to my first protest at U of M on Saturday, and Brenda, I brought those signs. I was there. I didn't see any of you guys there telling U of M that we don't want this. I've been emailing my representatives. I've been, talking to everybody online and telling everybody what this is going to do to our community. And I feel like John, you said that this should be local news, not national. This is a national issue. This is a Department of War facility trying to come to our backyard. I think that, U of M, the most winningest team, was on news all week, and nothing about this data center they're trying to put right in our backyards. I appreciate the moratorium. I agree with the noise situation. I don't think that was addressed. Or, Doug, you brought up how Memphis is being affected by the air. We brought up how Ann Arbor is being affected by the air, but that was also not mentioned in the moratorium. And I also don't think that it's enough time. I appreciate especially our YCUA members that came and spoke about, what has happened in the history and what will continue to happen. This will not be another Rosie the Riveter story for us. This will not bring those jobs, and we all know what happened with Rosie. She just turned into a story, and the women got pushed aside. The women, the black people of this community, we will all be pushed aside, and we will not get those jobs. We will not get the benefits from what this brings, and I think that we need to make the noise and not be quiet about it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. No. All right,
Hi, my name is Joanne. I'm a member of the township, have been for 23 years, and anyone who's interested, I just want to let you know, I'm sitting over there. I'd like to get people together so we can start, because you guys do what you do, but if the people that live here don't do anything, then they're just going to, our government's just going to say, oh, well, whatever. They're not going to give us any hell for it. So if you want to give some hell, and I mean non-violently, of course, but if you want to give some hell, come see me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name's Audrey. I'm a resident of Ypsilanti Township, and I am a psychologist. So groundwater movement is probably like the furthest thing from my area of expertise. I like to understand people, not things. And I feel like I keep having this experience of checking the news and seeing like national stories or stories in other states that reflect exactly what's going on here. So I was just looking at my phone at the beginning of this meeting and saw that Amazon just settled a $20 million lawsuit in the state of Oregon related to contamination of their groundwater, related to data centers exasperating already existing pollution that's like already occurring in the area. And so I just think I really appreciate your efforts here to preemptively try to protect our groundwater, as well as trying to ensure that we're taking care of things like on the front end rather than trying to play catch up later on. But I also do think that as you continue to think about things for the future, thinking about like the psychological impact of having this data center in our community, the impact that the like adjacency of these stressors has on our residents, as well as like the impact that AI usage in general has on our mental well-being through cognitive offloading and the reduction of our executive functioning and abilities to think critically through that. I do think that these are really relevant factors for continued consideration as we think about how we can take care of like our environments, but also how we can take care of our mental well-being alongside all of this. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Vita Pouget. I'm a township resident, and I do want to thank the township board for your due diligence, Doug, especially for your due diligence in this matter. But looking at it, it seems to be impacting more than just the township, obviously. Have you been reaching out to the other townships, Belleville, Canton, Ann Arbor even? I went to the meeting with Ann Arbor, the Ann Arbor informational meeting, and I asked 3 different representatives if any environmental impact study was done. All of them said, oh yeah, plenty of studies, but nothing published and nothing transparent. So maybe involving the other communities, collaborating with what the impact is going to be in there. You know, the different communities that YCUA, the water treatment plant, provides for. I mean, maybe we can make this more of a bigger community event.
Good idea, thank you. All right.
So I wanted to read one comment that was brought in at the counter today from Eileen Robinson, who's an Ypsilanti Township resident. It reads that, "I live in Ypsilanti Township. I oppose the building of the data center. I support the moratorium on Yucca."
Thank you. Are there board members comment? Yes, Trustee Rowe.
I just wanted to say thanks so much to everybody for coming. I do think that it makes a difference in the things that everybody's doing together. I do feel a sense of how can we like just pull that energy together, and because there are so many, and I just love the stuff that's going on social media, and so just I want to encourage you just to keep that up, just to keep sharing that, to as you get stuff that you're really interested in, to keep on doing that. The person who talked about the noise, if you could maybe give us your names and stuff, because I'm very interested in, we're not any specialists, as Doug said earlier, we're not scientists. So really, part of it is a struggle to find out, because everything hasn't been transparent across the country. And just to try, we're all reading just like you are, everything we can get our hands on, but to find people who are specialists in the noise that's related to data centers and how we could write an ordinance for that. So in those ideas, if you could just share those and stuff. I wanted to say one of the things I was doing when I looked earlier in the week, I came across this article by the Environmental and Energy Study Institute, and related to the resolution that we're getting ready to adopt. And it says data center developers are increasingly tapping into the freshwater resources to quench the thirst of the data centers, which is putting the communities nearby at risk. That's us. And all those who use the Yucca. And our service area is large. It's Augusta and Ypsi City and Ypsi Township and I don't know who else, Superior, Pittsfield. So it's a large, and the idea that maybe working with those communities is another thing. But anyways, that's the communities that are at risk. It says that, as we said earlier, it can consume up to 5 million gallons a day, which is the same as an area that's populated by 50,000 people. That's just one center. And we have the threat of several centers wanting to come in and use the water from Yucca. And the usage is continuing to grow, and with that comes the carbon emissions. There are novel technologies like direct-to-chip cooling and immersion cooling, which I think some of the people talked about, that maybe not those exact terms, but that can reduce water and energy usage. So I think hopefully that's one of the things that Yucca can look at, because there's no sense in using our water when you have an alternative. And I don't know if that's an ordinance that Yucca can write or how they can put that together. It makes no sense, especially when I read this, that only 3% of the Earth's water is fresh water, and only 0.5% of all water is accessible and safe for us to consume, humans. So, and it's critical for our survival. And I think that, so I think we always just thought, well, there's water we can just keep using, Yucca's got space, we can. But I think that as we look at the bigger picture, it's just really, really more important, and I think that's part of what it's going to do. I also thought, too, that there's kind of two major areas. One is the water protection and all the unknowns, and a lot of y'all have raised a lot of interesting things about the chemicals and stuff, and I think that's important, and hopefully that's one of the things that Yucca's going to be able to get into. It's really hard because we don't know. It's almost like Yucca, and it probably is going to take more than a year when I think about it, but I think there's a way we can address that later. If it does not have time, we can just renew that, if it's needed. But I think one of the things is that because we don't know, so Yucca's going to have to, or there's engineers or specialists or whoever we hire or whoever they hire, is going to have to look at every kind of data center, how they do it, because we don't know what any of these data centers, they're all using different technologies in different ways, and to come up, to me, what is best, if they do come here, if we can't stop them, we can at least have stuff in place that you're going to have to do it this way. You know, this is the way, this is the rules, this is the law that's going to come up. So to me, that's really important to figure out. Other one I know, and is the infrastructure. And the infrastructure is old, and there are water main breaks constantly, and you know the extra pressure for throwing 5 million gallons a day. You know, how can we study what that's going to be like, and you know, and where it's going to go, and how we can ensure that the rest of us aren't going to pay for all those extra breaks and things that are going to get tore down. There's another article I read that said there's one water. This is from SimCog. They just did a big old thing that we just got an email on. They did it on water, and it's all about water. It's a water month and saving the water system throughout the world. But anyways, the campaign is there is one water, and it's ours to protect. But to do so, we have to have the ability to understand the vastness and the value of our water system and the interrelationships of the water system and practice stewardship of the water resources. I think that's what we're trying to do with the moratorium, to get folks to move on to that. And the only thing I would add is let's send it to the Board of Regents too on the resolution. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rowe. Any other board member comment? Wait, no, I'm sorry. Wait, let's go to, is there? We'll allow one more, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, you should, yeah, we'll allow one more.
I was just wondering, you know, we talk about all the things. I'm
And your
Connie,
name?
Connie Latimer Smith.
Hi, Connie.
Living in Ypsilanti, West Willow, for 16 years. And my question is, we talk about all the things that it will do bad. Why are we even getting a data center? I mean, what's the reason for getting one? Does everybody know? Can anyone share that? What the reason for getting a data center is? You know,
yes,
kind of basic, but a lot of people don't know. You know, yeah.
I can try and answer, like I said at the beginning, what has driven the data centers coming to Michigan, Washtenaw County, is first and foremost the tax incentives. That's what started the whole invite, if you put it that way. And so the tax center that came over to Saline Township is saving hundreds of millions of dollars because of the governor's incentive package to come here. The second reason why they're coming here is because of DTE, the power we have here. And the third reason is the water. And if I did not make it clear at the beginning, this resolution is just one of many that's going to be forthcoming. This deals primarily with just trying to have the water and sewer issue pause button for at least 12 months to go forward. But there's other issues that we talked about, DTE, we talked about the grid, we talked about noise, we've talked about other natural features. Those will be forthcoming, but first and foremost, it's the water that has the higher priority because YCUA is the organization that has the authority to issue the permits to these data centers. But to answer your question again as to why they're coming here to begin with, it was created as artificial market demand that was created when they offer all these tax incentives. Some of you may remember it wasn't long ago when a different governor did the same thing with the movie industry. He gave all those tax incentives, and so Hollywood came here, made their movies, took their tax incentives, and as soon as they expired, they left. So when you say what can you do, I think right now, Lansing, this is going to be a pivotal moment. And I think people in Lansing are finally waking up that maybe that 6% was not a good idea.
We're not going back and forth.
What's their?
Wait a minute. Let's have order in the, okay, I'm sorry. We can have public comments and then we will answer the best we can some of the statements that were made. Mr. Winters, did you have anything else to add?
As far as what they do beyond just, we don't know what some of them are doing because they're too top secret, national security, I guess. But the commercial data centers, they store all the information, and that's where the Googles, Facebook, and all the other ones come into play. But again, the water and sewer is what we're focused on right now because they need water and sewer. And again, I guess I would not, I would sort of elevate the word sewer capacity over the water because right now the water is available to some extent, but it's a sewer capacity that really is finite amount. There's a limited amount of sewer capacity. And that is what we're trying to protect because the sewer capacity is then what's going to determine if other development can occur that could create jobs. We know that data centers will not create the kind of jobs that other industries might. But again, it's the sewer capacity that we're concerned about as well as the water issue here. That's why to answer even some of the questions that the board might raise, on page 7 of the resolution, that's a very detailed list of studies that have to be performed, and it includes one that talks about financial and ratepayer protection as well as the infrastructure and capital planning for the future. So these studies are very, very detailed, and they will take a long time to complete, but we have to start as soon as possible.
Thank you. Are there any other, Clerk Swanson?
So first, I want to say thank you to all the residents and the people who've been coming to meetings consistently. We appreciate the work that you're doing, and we see you. We see you on social media. We see you in emails that are sent. We hear you. We know that this is scary, really, for all of us in our community. So thank you for being here and consistently asking, what can you do? We aren't experts. So like Trustee Lovejoy-Rose said, what you know about sound matters to us, and so we appreciate we're working to try and hear you and to take action. I also want to say thank you to Mr. Mitchell as the safety person. Thank you for 30 years serving at YCUA, keeping us safe. Of all things for you to have put your life and your work effort into and keeping us safe, thank you for that. Probably couldn't be a more unsafe, well, I shouldn't say that. This is a pretty uncertain and unsafe time, so thank you for that. We take for granted that we have clean water and people there that are working to take care of us. And today, coming out today after storms have wreaked havoc on our area and the greater part of Michigan, thank you for that. Couldn't be a more clear picture when we wake up and people don't have power. 60,000 people with DTE, 12,000 in our area in Jackson. So when they tell us, oh, we can handle everything, the grid is fine, sure. It'll be fine for the data centers that you're helping because they'll have their own substations and they'll have generators. They won't be paying in taxes on that infrastructure like the generators that they have. But what about the people? Our tax dollars are the tax dollars that were used to give them those incentives. So it's great that they're covered, but people are not covered. People are right now living without power. They may not have generators. Times are tough for people. So the idea that DTE can say, oh, we're going to be fine, I don't believe you. And today is a perfect example of why it's hard to believe you, because your trucks are running all over the place trying to take care of power when we don't have data centers on the grid, or not to the degree that they'd like to put them on the grid. And the high volume of water, when we have a storm like this, almost always the water overflows at sewer treatment centers where we already have them. Dams are overflowing up north because we haven't invested in the infrastructure that we have. It's really deeply troubling. YCUA is a community asset. It belongs to the people. It is award-winning because of the employees and the people who work there, but it is equally award-winning because this community, the communities, the city and the township have invested in YCUA continuously. When they come and they say we need something, we don't tell them no because we value the water and the sewer treatment in our community. And to add insult to injury, we used to qualify for low-interest revolving fund that would allow us to get lower cost money to help with the investments that the people are making. But the legislature chose to not let us qualify, but they gave $100 million to the U of M in Lanel so that they can build their tax-free facility in our community and use YCUA, that's their intentions, to use YCUA, the people's investment. So that's pretty frustrating. And then alarmist, I appreciate you asking the questions on how to respond to that. It's hard not to be sounding alarms when it's happening to us. So it's easy for somebody who's not going to live next to this to say, well, that's just trying to frighten people, or those are scare tactics. Then get in front of us, be in front of us and let us ask questions, and you share with us so we know. I'm the person who brought up Mr. Corliss at the last meeting. My concerns with him is the limited amount of meetings that we've had with U of M. He has never been in a meeting with us. So how can he say what we've said if he's never been with us? He's never talked to us directly. He's speaking in the papers and everything because he's a communications person, an internal U of M communications employee. He has not spoken to us. He cannot speak for us. He's learning what we think by hearsay from people who do not represent us. So I encourage Mr. Corliss to reach out to us. If you want to know what we think about this, come sit in a room like this with our people and hear what we say. But don't say that you know what we feel. He doesn't know what we think. He's hearing internally from people who want to cram this down our community's throats, what we think. That's not fair. So we'll keep working on what we need to do to be able to answer the questions and to work with people. Know that we are it's hard not to be frightened when you learn and you read what everybody's doing. People are researching, they're thinking, they're trying to learn more, and it's really hard not to be alarming and frightening and scared when all you do is when you learn, nothing's bringing reassurance. So thank you. I appreciate everyone being here.
Thank you. Clerk Swanson, any other comment? I just want to say that I feel like we're under attack. And it was started, Ms. Connie, by the state of Michigan, who decided an economic strategy was data centers. And they approved in the legislation, and she has doubled down on it. It's not like she's hearing what anyone is saying. She is doubling down. So we need to do what we've done in the past in Ypsi Township. We have to be methodical. We have to try to control our emotions, not get as angry as we want to get, so we can still march forward in protecting our community, our environment, and our future. Some of the things that we've done in the past is the Township Board did a moratorium on development in the 90s. And everyone said, oh, you're going to get sued, you can't do that. We did not get sued, and the reason why we did it is because of the public health and safety. The roads were at a level F. Well, you can't have additional development if you're at a level F. So we took our time, we studied it, we adopted ordinances, we changed ordinances that we currently had, and we dealt with that issue that was before us. I used to sit on the YCUA board, and we have dealt with leachate from landfills because we learned that when you treat it in a municipal sewer system, that you can't clean it all out. So we put no more landfills in the service area of YCUA. And it didn't happen overnight, and we might not attend every event that's going on, but we are working every day on this issue. Another thing that we did is phosphorus. We had to adopt a phosphorus ordinance at the township level because it was affecting the lakes. And phosphorus creates algae bloom, which is very dangerous. So I know it doesn't seem like this is just one step and you should do a lot more. We are going to do a lot more, but we have to be methodical about it, is the best word I can think of. And I do want to thank Attorney Winters for just all the work and the legal and research. I mean, the research that he has done, and we all have done, but he has really done, and learned the different aspects of what is a data center. Ms. Connie, that is a good question, because what we thought was a data center years ago was a IT network system that, you know, it wasn't massive. It just held your company's, your township government's information. It stored the data. It sat there. It was updated. It was protected. But what's going on now is so much different than what we know to be a data center. And it's powerful. It could be good, I guess, for some. I don't know anyone that supports data centers. I just haven't, I have not met them yet. Other than Gretchen Whitmer. So we just have to, sometimes it might look like we're not doing enough. We are. You just don't see what we're doing every day. And it is literally every day. So please be assured, we hear you and we agree with you. And the stress that the state of Michigan has put, not only on our residents, but on all residents in the state of Michigan, it's unforgivable. And we see it every day here, and we know it. The biggest investments we have are our homes, our businesses, or the places we live. That's the biggest expenditure that we have. And for them to harm us with the location of these data centers, harm our environment without any studies, not one. YCUA will study it, I believe, because they will do it right. Because YCUA does do things right. We're proud to have them in our community, and they have always protected the residents and the ratepayers and the users to make sure that when everything goes through the sewer treatment system, which a lot of people didn't even know, when you flush your toilet, it does go somewhere. And it ends up at YCUA. And the businesses that have to pre-treat it prior to sending it to the YCUA system, which is what Mr. Robinson was speaking about. And I used to work with these gentlemen. I mean, I know them. And the level of service and protection that YCUA provides is, I'm grateful for it. And it continues decades and decades and decades later. So we now have a motion and support on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? No. The motion is carried. This will be forwarded to